When I first started learning how to become a pilot, I thought there was only two options for time building to get me to the airlines eventually, but little did I know there's a third option that is a lot faster, a lot cheaper, and in my opinion sounds like a lot more fun than these first two. So going over option number one, it was to get my flight instructor license at about 250 hours and work my ass off instructing for about 2 years until I finally hit 1500. This route would cost about $60,000, which is a pretty good price to get yourself fully eligible for the airlines. The only problem is it would take about a total of 4 to 5 years to get all your licenses and work the rest of the way. And then we got option number two, which would just be to get my private license, and then after that just rent my way all the way to 1500 hours. You can meet other pilots that are also time building and then just split the cost of the fuel and of the plane. But renting isn't very cheap these days, so I would estimate it would run you up to about 120,000 just to rent all the way to 1500 hours. But the good thing is you could probably get this done in about 2 years because you could just build your own schedule and fly every single day. Now we're going to talk about option number three, which, bear with me because it's going to sound a little crazy at first, but in the end you'll see how it's a lot cheaper than the first two options we just talked about, and how it will get you through a lot faster than the 4 to 5 years or even 2 years that we were just mentioning in the first two options. So basically you have to become a glider pilot, and it sounds dumb at first, but you'll see why it's so worth it in a second. If we open up to regulation 61.109, you'll see what's required to become a glider pilot, and the requirements are so low it's almost concerning. You only need a minimum of 10 hours to get your license total time, and within that 2 hours of solo time and 20 separate flights in a glider. Realistically, you're not going to be actually able to fly a plane with only 10 hours of experience, so I'd say once you get closer to about 20 hours, you might be more ready for the check ride. So I looked up a glider school near me to see how much it would potentially cost to get your private glider license, and it seems like it would be around $6,000, which may seem steep, but it's very cheap compared to around $17,000 for a normal airplane PPL. Now let's say you secure your private pilot glider license so you can go legally rent planes and carry passengers, or you can go buy one of these sweet gliders and start the time build. Usually when you think of a glider, you envision a normal looking plane with a super long wing on it and no engine, and you think, oh, it's gonna suck, I'm gonna have to get my glider towed up a couple thousand feet for like $100 every time I want to use it and coordinate that with a tow plane, so it's just a lot of work. Well, that's actually not the case, because if you buy this Pipistrel glider, it comes with an engine in it, and it's still legally a glider, so you can get yourself up to altitude without having to rely on anybody else or pay for a towing fee. All you'd have to pay for is maybe $10 in fuel to just fuel your engine to get you up a couple thousand feet, and then you can glide away. You can find these powered gliders for a resale price of around $80,000, and there's some even cheaper than that. They just have a little bit more time on the engine, but these all look like pretty solid planes with not that much time on the engine, so I'd say $80,000 is a good price range to have. So now let's say you go buy one of these powered gliders, and now you spend about $86,000. All you have to show for it is about 20 hours in glider time and a shitty little glider plane. But just wait, at the end of this, you're gonna flip this thing and make most of your money back. Let's say you start flying your new glider every single day and start building time like crazy. If you fly 4 hours per day for a year straight, you can get to 1500 hours in just around a year. And along the way, you could secure other ratings like instrument and commercial on the side. But we still haven't talked about how much this is all going to cost realistically. So each flight, you're obviously going to have to pay for a small amount of fuel because you need to get up to altitude, and then you could shut down the engine, start gliding away, and not have to pay for any fuel at all. This engine only burns about 3 gallons per hour, and it would probably take only about 30 minutes max from startup all the way until you get up to altitude, and you could shut the engine off and then just glide away, not have to pay for any more fuel. I'd say it's safe to say the fuel would cost about $8 per flight, so that would add up to about $2,900 per year. The next cost would be inspections and maintenance. Now the good thing is the engine is usually the biggest maintenance cost in a plane, but since you'll only be putting about 300 hours max on the engine in the entire time you're going to use this thing, there shouldn't be any issues that end up costing you a lot of money. So I'm not even going to factor that cost in. On the other hand, you will have to do an annual ELT and pitot-static system inspection only once, which would cost you around $3,000. The tie-down fee and insurance would cost around $50 per month, so that will total up to about $600 per year. And finally, to upgrade to a commercial glider pilot, it would probably cost you about $3,000 extra because you would have to hire an instructor and fly with him for a couple hours, get his endorsement, then hire the DPE to pay for the check ride and pass, be done with commercial. So the total cost to get around 1,500 hours in just a year would be about $95,000 in this glider. And then after that, you could just relist it back on the market, put it up for maybe $10,000 less since you put a little bit of time on the engine and the plane, and that brings it down just a little bit in value. If anything, I'm sure you could even sell it for around the same price, 80K, and get your money back. But for the sake of this video, we'll say you sell it $10,000 less for around 70K. And that brings the total cost down to $25,000, which is absolutely crazy to me to think that you can get this done in just about 1 year, be eligible to work for the airlines or any other charter company that you really want to, and I've spent like a fourth of the cost that most people spent. I went to ATP flight school, spent over $100,000, took out a loan for it, so I'm going to end up probably paying around $200,000 for all of my training. It only got me to about 250 hours, and the best part about it is I got done in a year and got all 7 ratings, multi-engine, CFI, MEI, II, everything that sets me up to get eventually a good gig at an airline. But the only thing is, it was a very overpriced program, and now I have to work for another 2, maybe even 3 years to get to the airlines. I've already been working as a flight instructor for over a year now. I'm at like 800 now, so I still have at least a year to go before I can be eligible to work for the airlines. Compared to this, I could have done for, let's see, a fourth of the cost, and I guess also a fourth of the time that I would have spent versus my current route that I'm on now. But I hope this helps you guys maybe consider taking this path, getting it done cheaper, faster, and also it seems like a lot of fun. You get to actually own a plane and learn how to fly a glider, ride the thermals, go around every single day, look at the beautiful scenery. It's not just constantly having to train different students like an instructor, or just renting planes, always having to pay this crazy cost that you're not going to get back. Unlike the glider, you're going to get all of it back for the most part. Just going to have to spend a very small portion of what you should have. So yeah, just wanted to share this, and if you guys know any other ways that you can get eligible, well, up to 1,500 hours in such a short amount of time for such a cheap price, let me know. Would love to know it down below. Thanks for watching.